Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, we learned of the passing of Jay Briscoe a few days ago. He was born January 25th, 1984. He passed on January 17th, 2023. We heard on NXT and on SmackDown the tribute to him. They mentioned his name passing. I haven't watched AEW Dynamite yet, so I'm not sure what was done there. I know there was a Jay Briscoe celebration show that was done. Was not airing on Warner Networks. People were a little uproar about that. It's going to air on Honor Club and on Ring of Honor's YouTube channel. Jay Briscoe, 13-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion. Pro Wrestling Noah. New Japan IWTV World Tag Team Champion with his brother Mark, Impact Champion, House of Glory World Champion, 3-time GCW World Champion, FIP World Champion, CZW World Champion, Tag Team Champion, 2-time Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. In 2022, the Briscoes had 3 sets of trilogy matches. In the House of Glory with the main event, Jay Lyon, and I can't get the other guy's name off the top of my head, and they let the main event went over on them to win the titles on the 3rd match. Ring of Honor, they had the trilogy series with FTR. Ring of Honor with the Briscoes going over on the final battle, the double dog collar match, and winning the tag titles for the 13th time. GCW, they had a trilogy set with Second Gear Crew, Mance Warner, and Matthew Justice. And then Second Gear Crew going over and getting on the 3rd match and getting the titles. I had the pleasure, and I would say pleasure, of seeing the Briscoes in 3 different live shows. 2009 ROH Clash of Contenders, they faced House of Truth. In July of 2010, Ring of Honor Hate Chapter 2, they had a match, 6-person tag match against the Kings of Wrestling. Claudio, Chris Hero, and the Queen of Wrestling, Sarah Del Rey. They teamed with Awesome Kong. On that show, I actually get the privilege of high-fiving Mark and Jay Briscoe after the show, as they won that main event. And sitting there when you come in, when the wrestlers came out, the corner right there, I was wearing a steampunk shirt, the one with the fest on it. And so, yeah, that was kind of a cool moment to high-five the Briscoes. And then I went to Chicago with the Pulse family in February of 2011 for the Ring of Honor's 9th anniversary show. Watched them wrestle the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. And other than that, I followed them online, I followed them on TV. I had never heard of the Briscoes before 2008. At that time, J-Man and I were doing wrestling cards. And we had a list of wrestlers. And we had them organized. World champion, mid-card, tag, women. We would do our own little draft. And then we would do a card. Like a pay-per-view card, basically. And so my match might be, Rock versus Austin, main event. He might have Seth Rollins or Tyler Black versus Kevin Owens. Or Kevin Steen at the time, or something like that. And we would talk about like which match would be better, which would you rather see kind of deal. He had the Briscoes on there. I'd never seen these guys. He'd watched HDNet and Ring of Honor, and he's describing them to me and how good they were and stuff. And I'm like, I gotta see this. So he actually burned me a DVD of some of the Ring of Honor HDNet stuff. And first time I saw the Briscoes, I'm like, God, this tag team was good. I would say here in 2023, after what they've been able to do as a team, Jay Briscoe, Mark Briscoe, probably the greatest tag team in the history of professional wrestling. Jay Briscoe, World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time in Ring of Honor. He could have been a world champion anywhere he went. I know 2013-ish, I think it was, he had said some things on Twitter and apologized for it later, but it was still said. I know a lot of people get a second chance for whatever reason because of what he said. I'm not going to get into it. But he wasn't given a second chance to, he donated money to a cause because of what he said. You guys can look it up. I'm not going to talk about that here. There's no reason to. But he was never given a chance to be on national television, AEW or Impact Wrestling. No, he's on Impact a little bit, Access TV, but not like the main networks like WWE and NXT and AEW and stuff. I know they had a tryout with WWE. They weren't cosmetically pleasing, is what Vince used. The reason they didn't get signed. When it's the best damn tag team in the world, I mean, come on. But that's just how the Briscoes were. Sandy Fork, Delaware. One of the greatest tag teams in the world. I mean, I can list off all their great matches. Watching them versus the Young Bucks at one point. Watching them versus Second Gear Crew versus FTR. Watching them not only go over sometimes, but putting teams over, If you can say you beat the Briscoes at tag wrestling, how damn good are you? Look at the trilogy with FTR. The first match, we're like, oh my god, this is the greatest tag match ever. Then the second match, wait, this is better than the greatest tag match ever. And then the third match was just beyond, I don't think overall that Jay Briscoe got their due when it came to how good they were in the ring. They didn't have a particular style. They could go deathmatch wrestling and game changer wrestling, which they did. Which the first time I saw them in a deathmatch, I'm like, oh snap, they're actually good at this. Yeah, I mean, the world of professional wrestling lost a champion this past week. Hopefully his daughters are okay. Hopefully, as time goes on, wounds will heal. But we'll always look back. Jay Briscoe, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, the greatest champion of all time. That's just, I was going to run down their best matches of 22, their best matches of this, that, and the other. Maybe I will do every year on the anniversary, maybe on his birthday or something. We'll celebrate his birthday every year and do a best of a different year. So, maybe next year we'll do the best of 22 or best of 20 or, something, or some of the greatest ladder matches he was in kind of deal. Maybe we'll do a tribute that way. But what I'd like to see come out of this is I think Ring of Honor is the place to do it. I think Tony Khan, hopefully somebody knows Tony Khan or somebody can get this to Tony Khan, this idea. Every January, you can do Ring of Honor, you can do AEW, I don't care. Let's do a Briscoe Brothers tournament. A Briscoe Brothers tag team tournament. 13 teams, because they are 13-time champions. Obviously, one match would be a triple threat. And then we crown the Briscoe Brothers Cup. And like we did the Owen Hart Cup kind of deal. The Briscoe Brothers Tag Team Cup. That winner goes on to Revolution in February as your number one contender for the tag titles. I would love to see it where maybe you get Ring of Honor tag teams, AEW tag teams, Impact tag teams, New South tag teams, whomever on the independent circuit, because they were part of the Indies, Game Changer Wrestling, New Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, whoever you can get in there. Everyone worked, any company that the Briscoes worked for, send representation to these 13 tag teams. Hell, it could be one from each company, it doesn't matter. But whatever tag team wins, so if you have a representative of New Japan and they win, they get an IWGP World Title shot. If it's somebody from Ring of Honor, they get a Ring of Honor tag title shot. If it's somebody from AEW, they get an AEW tag title shot. But do a tournament of the different independent wrestling companies, the Briscoe Brothers Tag Team Cup. But that's just my 2 cents on the life and wrestling of Jay Briscoe. He was, from everything that I've heard and read, he was just as good of a family man as he was a wrestler. He was a husband. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a son. The late Jay Briscoe. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader. Sports channel content. One more ad. The only company that I've seen so far that did a tribute right was Game Changer Wrestling. Thank you, MLJ. Thank you, Nick Gage.